on today's Locked On Guardians. It is part 2 of our conversation with Andre Knott, Guardians dugout reporter. Stories on Tito's speech from camp or what he can reveal. Oscar Gonzalez, Jose Ramirez, and other spring training stuff galore. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everybody, as promised, we will get back to our conversation with Andre Knott, Guardians dugout reporter. But first, I want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Guardians is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. So, as promised, more of our conversation with Andre Knott. Really appreciate him taking the time with us the other night. Spent a long time with us. Couldn't fit it all into one episode, as we noted yesterday, but we're excited to release the second episode today, and very gracious. And don't just say this because he is on the podcast. I tell people this offline all the time or in person that nobody does it better than Andre. When you listen to, even if you listen to the baseball minute of the AZ podcast, you learn a lot about baseball as much as you do, listening anywhere here or Selby's Godcast. They do a great job. Those podcasts make you a lot smarter, even if Andre's just able to do it for a minute on there. I'd be telling that to anybody, whether he was on this podcast or not. So make sure you're watching Guardians games with him and the crew as they come back, and make sure you are tuned in to the rest of today's episode of Locked On Guardians. We finish our episode with Andre Knott in this conversation.
I'm a big Gabby Artis guy, and I know the numbers haven't said it the last couple of years, but I can tell you guys from being around him, I think the light bulb's going off, if you know what I mean, because he's rather young. He's rather young as well. And it's always weird because I didn't get this, and I still don't get everything either, but I never really got to talk about, because Rick Manning is big on, you learn more being in the big leagues, talking to big leaguers and being around big league coaches than you do the minors. Well, easy for Rick to say. He was a first-round pick and was in the minors very quickly in the 70s. But there's something to what he's saying. And whether it be Bo Naylor getting called up for a cup of coffee last year at the end of the year, and Justin, you make a great point. It was nice when we could go to 40-man rosters and you could kind of get that out of the way. But Will Brennan getting 300 at-bats in the big leagues may be better than him getting 500 at-bats in AAA. Because what does he get out of going to AAA, hitting 350, 320? So I think he can do it, but we're going to have to see.
I don't disagree with you. I have relented on my previous follies of Oscar Gonzalez. Like, I know Jeff and I both have missed the boat on Oscar Gonzalez. We'll see what happens this year, but like, I've relented the fact that guy's probably going to be really good and he's probably going to have a big year. So like, obviously they trust him.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this.
He's such a great story. Like, I mean, they protected 11 players from the Rule 5 and didn't protect him. And
I think somebody knew. I think they knew what they were doing there. There's a story to be dug into how that happened.
But he could have signed with anybody, Andre. He could have gone anywhere.
I know. I agree. I totally agree with you guys.
And like
that's a big risk.
No, and there's that part of me too where it's like, I remember, when I was just a snot-nosed reporter doing this for fun, he was one of the first people that followed me, which always makes him, someone you like, because I'm like, that's a player.
Let me ask you guys. You guys scout. You guys watch. Yeah. I want to say this politically correct. Like, I love Nolan Jones. I have nothing against Nolan Jones. But the first 10 at-bats I watched Nolan Jones and the first 10 at-bats I watched Oscar Gonzalez. I'm just using these two as an example. There are traits that I see from Oscar that blow me away right away. With Nolan, you could see things, but you could tell there was going to be some issues with him dealing with heaters in, and because of how long, and not all his fault. He's 6'5". Like, there's a different. They're both about the same height, but there's a difference in how they use that height when they're at the plate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Oscar's is a little bit more herky-jerky or not textbook, but he may be more athletic. He's way more athletic than anybody wrote or said that I read before I saw him play.
I mean, I saw Nolan Jones a lot more than I saw Oscar Gonzalez. And the last time I saw Oscar Gonzalez, like, consistently was 2019. because he did have 2020. He was an actor in 2021. And I feel like things changed so fast for him from 2019 to 2021. He was a very different person physically, and just things he had changed. And Nolan Jones too, he had the issue of, okay, I'm not going to play third base. Maybe I'm going to play third base. And then, as soon as Jose Ramirez signs that contract, he's like, okay, what's my future here? Yeah. And you're asking a guy to learn a new position altogether. And yeah, I agree with you though. I think like there's Nolan Jones probably is underappreciated because, he's still a 3 true outcome kind of, well, there's health too, the 3 true outcome thing. I feel like he just fell out of style with the way the Guardians want to go, and there's still a lot of talent there, but Oscar probably fits more what they're trying to do, maybe.
And I think the thing with Oscar, having like watched him through the minors and development, and like he goes against type. Like we just have to be honest, he goes against type, but like he always performs. And I mean, by reports that I had,
there's something to that, right, Jeff?
There is that, but there's also like he works. Like not to say that Nolan doesn't work, but like Oscar Gonzalez is, and from what I heard, Nolan worked as well, but like Oscar Gonzalez is kind of a different beast of work. Like from what I understand, like he is a person who, there are those guys who, when you're like, well, who are the guys who really work? Like, they'll give you a list of 3 names, and his name always came up.
Always. And I can tell you, I went to his house that his parents live in just a couple months ago, and literally, guys, there is a major league sized baseball field like 2 blocks from his house that he walks to. And as I walked to it with him, there were like kids on top of a fence kind of watching other kids practice. And Oscar goes flippantly, so honest. That kid right there is going to get internationally signed by the Yankees. He's going to get 1.5. That kid right there is going to sign with Seattle. That kid right there is going to sign with San Diego. And I'm just like, holy crap. And then we walk into the field. I think Oscar's special, but I don't know for sure. There's a lot to be said. He grew up in that area of the Dominican where, like, literally, Vladimir Guerrero has a mountain in the part of Dominican where he lives, where Oscar lives, and where Vladimir lives is like on top of this mountain, and he has a 2-7 with Guerrero like on the mountain, like, but then his house is like above it. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. But in saying that, there's a scout in Dominican, and I know I'm going to get in so much trouble for this, and it's going to be put back on me all year long. But I mentioned it on the broadcast today.
I heard.
I'm
already hearing.
And someone mentioned it in our comments as well.
Yeah,
really? People already mad
gone,
about
Andre.
It's
out the window.
This is why I stay off social media, man. I got kids to feed. I can't be fighting you people. Like, why am I? But see here, all right, this is a great one, and I'm not mad. I don't care. Like, it's not me saying thanks. I didn't see Vladimir Guerrero play at 15, 16, 17 years old. I didn't see Oscar Gonzalez at 15, 16, 17 years old. That's like, what are we supposed to do when we get information like that? Just sit on it.
That's stuff you should be sharing. Absolutely.
Right. So should I sit on it for 5 years? And when he's an all-star, be like, oh, yeah, I told you. Can't win them all.
If it's there, use it. No, I agree. I'm with you. It's part of the broadcast. It's part of the information. And I don't know why people want to run with, well, Andre Knott said this. Well, actually, Andre Knott didn't say that. Andre Knott is saying somebody else told him that. That's the problem with Twitter.
Right. And I used to go back and I used to try to like counter react and have conversations with people about it. But I'm like, no, I no longer look. It's a story that's a part of the documentary we did on baseball in Dominican. It's a great story. And then look, they have pride in their guys. I think we talked, like you said, I think you hit on something really well, Jeff. I believe how you, and I can't say it exactly how you said it, but the bat to ball stuff is legitimate for what this organization wants to do. And obviously Oscar doesn't look like Stephen Kwan in how his bat to ball, percentages are, but he can get the balls that you like. There's some things about him you can't teach. And there's always going to be outliners, no matter what the game is built upon. There's always been guys that didn't fit, the prototype. Yeah. So I don't blame you guys. I don't blame scouts. There's certain guys that just fall through the cracks for whatever reason. And he may just be one of those guys, no matter if he came up in 1980, 2020, or 2050.
And Cleveland feels weirdly good at finding those guys. Like one could argue, like Stephen Kwan is that.
Yes.
I mean, Tristan for like just his build is kind of that. Like it's he's fantastic pitcher, fantastic athlete, but not a lot of guys that big and skinny. So they're kind of, Espino, if healthy, could be that guy.
I had it here. I would quickly remember what it's funny you said about Tristan. I had a scout and a former player, pitcher, big league pitcher. This will have Andre Knott said, told me though years ago, they said there's no way in the heck that Tristan McKenzie will make it to the big leagues because he's too skinny and he's got no butt. Because that used to be the saying, like you needed a thick torso, big legs, big thighs to really push to get 200 innings. And I was told he'll never be a starting pitcher because of his body build. And I'm not gonna call that person out. I get it. 9 times out of 10, if you look like Tristan McKenzie, that's probably going to become true. But the strength coaches here tell me he's one of the strongest guys.
We'll get back to more of our conversation with the great Andre Knott in just a second. But first, let's talk about our new and exciting sponsor, FanDuel. The midway point. We're past the midway point of the NBA season. MLB season is almost here. The World Baseball Classic is coming up. It's college baseball season. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, it's super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to anything else. Wins total for the Guardians this year, we said bet the over in 87. Perhaps we should ask Andre if he would bet the over on the Guardians' win totals this season. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner when he was an actor, of the NBA. Tell me how often he eats Chipotle and how much that kid eats. He eats. It's not like he's not trying.
I sat next to him in the press box and watched him trying to get at it. Just didn't seem to work. He's tracking games. We all wish we had his metabolism. Is basically.
We are far past. We're going to get yelled at for far past time, but we're already far past enough where I actually want to talk. If you've got time for one more question, Andre.
Hey man, let's go. You got me going now. I'm having fun.
All right. I should have let off.
Wait. Where do I get these billbar.com? I need some of those bars before you let me go. I'm joking. That was a good commercial. Sounds
Lock
good.
15.
Is that where Lock 15 for real?
Yeah.
What that one flavor sounded good, Jeff. What was it?
I'll say this as someone who does order them with his own money. If you like coconut, I like the coconut and a lot of the chocolates. Those are my
chocolate.
favorite.
It was one of the chocolate brownies. Something you said.
Yeah, chocolate brownie. Yeah, the coconut brownie.
I was listening, bro. I was listening. All right, just to give it.
No, there's a few. Like I said, there's a few things. Some of my students will actually eat at school, and they're like, I need you to pick me up.
Hey, if you can get a 10-year-old or 12-year-old to eat it, why not, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we already had, I was going to ask you about Tito's opening speech to the team. I know he's a guy that likes to put yesterday in the bucket and move on to the next day. And I think that's what a lot of people are curious about this year is how does this team repeat or improve on their success? Because I don't think a lot of these guys knew what they should have been doing last year. So I am sure his speech was littered with, yes, last year was great, but this year is this year. So what, besides the fact that he, broke his tooth and spilled coffee and everything, which have you ever heard of a guy having more food related injuries than Terry Francona, first of all?
No. That guy's a genius. And I only know, I'm not giving anything away. This is an assessment by someone that's just been around him for a decade. Isn't it amazing? And I don't know anything. And if I'm wrong, he'll call me out or tell me. But isn't it amazing that Tito always has these food issues around times that he finds that are very important in the year? Like the last time he had one, it was like during the World Series, like in Chicago, and he had ice cream all over him. And pay attention to what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
I think he's a genius at keeping the focus from the media on the things that we would try to put the focus upon. Mm-hmm. Because he told that goofy story, he really didn't have to tell us really anything of what he said to his team. It's brilliant. And I'm only saying this and I'm only saying it to you guys because I'm around him every day. And I know what players have said. And without being in the room, without having anyone tell me exactly what was said, I would guarantee that Tito said something to the point of nobody gives a bleep about last season. nobody cares that you won this award. But we all know in here that we're good enough to play against anybody. So keep your mouth shut, put your head down. Like, it was great to me that Quan came right to me after his first at bat and said, same old story. Like, that Miles Straw is not playing yet, and he's yelling at guys to go from first to third. Today, he's yelling at a guy from Texas for stealing when they're up 7-0. They kind of like and fell in love with being the little runts that kind of bothered everybody. They know they weren't invited to the party, that they had to break the door down to get into the party. And Tito has a great way of lighting that fuse. Tito and I have had talks. I mean, this is what he does. He's he knows how to make every person around him feel like the most important person in the world. Not a lot of people can do that. And I was talking to Tristan the other day, or a couple weeks ago. We were texting about something. And he was like, everybody keeps asking me about Tito and what makes him great. And Tristan probably summed it up the best I've ever heard a player say it. But he was like, Tito actively talks to us, but Tito never just talks to us to BS with us. Like, he does, and we all, like, think of any job. We all have people at jobs or places where we're like, you have that, like, hey, how you doing? But it's got it's the job. It's the job part of it. Like, you go, hey, how you doing? How was the weekend? You don't really care. You're asking because you're supposed to. You never have those with Tito. Like, Tito will ask how your family's doing, whatever else, or he'll ask about something certain that you guys both have a college basketball team or a football team, or, how's your kids? Like, he finds something, but he never, like, wastes your time. So when he says stuff to the players, they really run with it. And I think the cool thing he has with this team right now is he has a lot of wide-eyed kids that don't want to let him down. And they saw they changed his life last year. I'm going to be honest. Like, Tito it's been a struggle. And he's got a different, and I haven't said this anywhere, so I'll say it, he's got a different pep in his step right now. And it's probably because he can actually walk, but he does have a different pep in his step. And the one thing I'll tell you guys is I wrapped that up because it's a long-winded answer. He loves basketball. Goes to Cavs games early, goes to University of Arizona games early. If he goes to a game, he goes early. And I've asked him why. And he told me he goes early because he likes to see how the players on the bench interact with the assistant coaches. And he can watch that and see that, and he tells you what kind of team it is, how well it's coached, if they're really a team that's together. Terry Francona is successful because he picks up on things like that about teams. He has a first base coach that reads the other teams so quickly on things like that. Are they together? Are they pulling for one another? Do they respect the assistant coaches? Do they treat the assistant coaches like crap? He picks up on that, and the one thing he's always told me is that he watches how basketball coaches come and go in the NBA. And he understands that when you've been in one place for a long time, if you keep the same message, it gets stale, and players will turn deaf ear to you. So in saying all of that, I know that the worries he has in life is he never wants to get in front of his team and be stale or give the same thing, or guys roll their eyes and go, oh, here goes the old man again. So when you hear all the stories about his dessert the night before and everything else, I read that as Tito had a pretty fiery, good talk, and he doesn't want that talk to be what we're talking about.
Let's see, this is why I don't care if somebody bunts and people get mad about bunting, even though it doesn't usually come from Tito, or I don't care how many times he uses Brian Shaw in this certain situation, or this is why I don't care about that crap, because this is what we're talking about, communication and stuff that happens behind closed doors that nobody knows how to rate a manager on a scale. That right. It's stuff like that where yes, you can get frustrated at that stuff in the moment, but when you hear stuff like that, it's like, this is why you put up with, whatever goofy decision people get mad about that night.
And usually if he's calling for that bunt, he's trying to steal a win like you. And let me just say that's the other thing. There is not one fan or one person on Twitter or sitting at home that can tell him something about his team that he didn't know 3 weeks before you realized it. Like, I love when people say stuff about, I'll use Owen Miller. You don't think they see it?
They're not watching the game, really?
You're right. They know at 2:00 before, when you're still at work and you're finishing up those last 15 emails for the day, and you're trying to figure out how much you're going to pay in parking, and if your dog is going to have dog food. Tito's already swam 2 miles because he's worried about what you're going to worry about at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. No, definitely the more time I think I've done this podcast, the more you learn that of any sport, you have the lowest idea of what's happening in baseball with a manager, the impact of the manager. It's like 90% you don't see.
Yeah, especially like bullpen stuff. And we do a better job now of knowing like what a guy did 2 days ago, 3 days ago. But like the amount of pitches that some relief pitchers and I mean Tito rides pitchers when they're hot, right? On the bullpen. And I'm saying this out loud, and I know it'll get back to him if he doesn't like it. There are times where I'm like, dang, Tito, you're gonna put him up again. But he does communicate with his relievers. And like you just said, Jeff, I'm there every day and I'm pretty locked in, and there's things I don't always know about certain bullpen guys. Or there's certain things about why a guy's up or not. I don't know everything. And I've questioned things at times, but the blessing I have in what I know now is I can ask hard questions on air and off air. And sometimes it's off, but sometimes getting that answer off air helps us explain on air better as to what's going on, whether you want to hear it or not. And it doesn't mean we agree with it. But if we're told, hey, this guy's dealing with this, and this, and this guy's wife may be having a baby in 2 weeks, so we're trying to get all the pitches we can. There's always all these there's always a lot more than meets the eye. Is what I'll leave it as.
We could have had another hour conversation about journalism and asking, why didn't this guy ask Tito this question tonight? Ask him, hold him accountable for this, or hold him to we could have a whole other hour conversation on interacting with professional coaches and managers, I'm sure.
Yes. And just the fun of this team, like as much as we've gotten to talk about things, it's like this is such a fun squad. I'll be 42 this summer, and it's like just top to bottom, everyone's an interesting story of fun. I mean, we didn't even touch on Class A, and one could already say he's in the process of becoming the greatest reliever in the history of this organization.
Amazing.
And he got a few.
We barely talk about him.
Yeah,
that's what he said. Yeah,
Jose's the greatest third baseman in the organizational history. He's coming off a massive injury. We didn't talk about him. That's how fun
he played most of the season last year with that. All right, I'll give you two quick ones. If we've gone too long, I'll give you two quick ones on those two guys.
Yeah, it doesn't matter now. Just go.
It's all fun. I mean, listen, our listeners
we're going to get yelled at anyway.
It's just we're going against type, but our listeners will be so happy. They're going to be ecstatic.
Sure,
they will.
Hey, matters. This is your Christmas gift to them. I'm glad I could be a part of it. Thank you guys for having me on. The day Clase got traded to the Cleveland organization, Indians, Guardians, it was a Sunday. I was doing Browns pregame radio at TAM 1100. And I remember it happened and we were like, that's it for Kluber? And just because Delino DeShields Jr. was in it, was like, well, we know him. And I remember I texted Tito and a couple other people in the organization, and I was like, that's it? And I remember Tito saying, well, all right, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was me. I was like, oh, can't hear anything. Great.
It was perfect time too. It's like Tito told me and then me. It's like you really got it.
They're like, we're going to stop this show one way or the other. No,
it was fake.
Yeah, but Tito basically said they sold it on me as wait till you see this cutter. It could be something we've never seen before. But he even kind of laughed and was like, I can't believe that's what we're getting for Kluber. So I'll never forget that. And then everyone else, we raced to YouTube to see it, and it was still I don't know. He's still figuring it out. He still has he's already up here, and it may be up where and it's unbelievable. And you think about it. Talk about how Tito did that with Karinchak and Clase, and he somehow gotten the best out of them. And he quietly had them competing for the closer's job, but you never heard that on radio, television, or in print. Go back how he used them a couple years ago, how he kind of went back and forth, wouldn't name a close. He let them figure it out on the mound with no pressure put upon them because the media never was able to and he, how he does that? By telling silly jokes about eating popcorn and breaking teeth. It's amazing.
Now it's a conspiracy theory.
Did I just break down the wall?
I don't know.
We're going
to have to do a deep dive into this now. Go back to every food related instance and see the timing of it.
See what's
I'm
really
going to check the schedule.
I mean, he's not that well at doing it, but that's what I take from it when I look at him. Who was the other player you brought? It was Clase, and who was the other
Jose.
Jose. Yeah, well,
man, I got a million Jose's.
It's special.
He really is. He's special. I was talking to. I've been talking to a lot of different people that have known him for a while, and I think the amazing thing is, and I'm glad Matt Underwood did this for us, for me, because everyone gets caught up in the home run pitch thing. And it's awesome. The T-shirt companies of Cleveland did what they did. Do what they do. They made as many T-shirts as they could as quickly as possible. But I'm glad Matt, like a year ago or so, kind of said, Andre and Jose kind of mess around with, what pitch was that home run pitch. He goes, but I talk to Andre every single night, and I know the conversations him and Jose have, and how Jose sees the game and what Jose's looking for. He is a baseball genius. I've watched and I listen. I've been so blessed, man, to sit near him from 8 seasons, 9 seasons, and hear him break down a pitcher, break down a situation, break down players. Like, here's a story that I was just told by Augie the other day, our translator. We saw Quan. It may have been like whenever Quan got. It was the first time he saw. We were late in the game. Jose was mad probably because he had to stay back and interview with me, and he didn't leave when everybody else left. He had to watch like Quan's first at bat in a minor league game down here. This is why, Jeff, you should watch spring training games after the 6th inning.
Oh,
maybe I'll only tune in after the 6th inning.
Quan gets a sink. Quan has a Quan at bat. We all know what that means now, right? Yeah. And Jose turns to a couple people right around. This is his first time ever watching him, and he goes, "If that kid keeps it up, he's got a chance." And Augie said, Augie goes, we all say a lot of stuff, but we all know when Jose says something, kind of chalk it up. And he goes, lo and behold, we go in a hitters meeting in Kansas City last year. And for Augie, it was like he got slapped in the face when he saw Quan sitting in the corner. He was like, holy crap. Jose called it. Jose called it before everybody else. Jose said Quan is going to be Quan. And that's like in 19 or 8. Like, I could look up when it was. You could but literally before everyone else in the organization, before you guys were writing about him, before Jose Ramirez saw 3 at bats and was just like, something about this guy. And he's done that with me with other players in the playoffs. When you hit the home run off the changeup right-handed off of and against Tampa this year. Why can't I think McClanahan. He literally was telling Gabe Arias and he was telling Ahmed Rosario nothing hard because I don't think he was controlling his fastball well that day, and I should remember more, but it was a playoff game a while ago. Mm-hmm. Jose was sitting on changeup from the second pitch of the game. He won that game hitting a changeup right-handed to right center. He never he is going to go down as one of the I want people, and I guess the story I'm saying is the home run pitch is cute. It's fun. It's part of his personality because he is funny. He learns other people's he's funny, but he's intelligently funny. He knows when not. He knows when to bring up the pressure, when not to bring up the pressure. But he is so darn smart when it comes to the game of baseball, whether it's helping pitchers, whether it's telling guys when they should steal and not steal. I hope we really appreciate that part of who he is, because you don't get to the point that he's at just by the gifts God gave you. God gave him some gifts with his mind, and he's unbelievable with them.
And another one of those unicorns, because his size for a decade ago, we'd have never thought that a guy like him could do that. And complete player. And you've made me hope that he stays in this organization. We know he loves Cleveland. He took a massive discount to stay, but it's man, hopefully he's a scout in the future for this team.
I want him to. Yes, I want him to run the Dominican the facility for the Guardians when he's done. He might be the perfect person. And think about the decision he made about the World Baseball Classic. Trust me, they want him on that team. He told me the other day, "Oh, Justin, stop! I got your back."
You had to bring it up. That's
Oh, I'm not bringing it up with you. I would you were doing your job. You try you know what I did in that situation. I appreciate what you're doing. But also I know him pretty well. And as he told me the other day, I only play for Guardians.
There you go. That's probably all he will. I'm assuming at this point. Well, we'll see how things go, but that's probably what he'll do. Well, this is why you should
so much of your time.
Yes,
I told Justin weeks ago, spring training is the time to give me. No problem.
We appreciate it though, and you've been extremely generous with your time, so we appreciate it.
What's your cat's name, Jeff?
Oh, this is Cinnamon. She became a celebrity last week when she decided to smack me across the face in the middle of a podcast. That's why you see me aggressively moving her at points.
So I know who's winning.
She's a fighter.
Household. I see. It's
not with my 1-year-old. My 1-year-old claws her all day. It's fine. Apparently,
isn't it amazing how animals know the difference between kids and adults?
Oh yeah, she leaves the kids alone. Kids crawl all over her, but then with me, she just thinks it's I get smacked or everything else. So
Jeff needs an endorsement for cat food.
Apparently, that's
a good one.
There we go. We can. I mean, before Justin joined me, the joke was the cats were the co-host because they just had to come and sit. So.
All right, give me something. Who's a player that I don't know their name that I will see you guys writing about, or the rest of us will know about by July in the Guardians organization?
Oh, Jeff, you want to go first with that one?
Who we go? I'm trying to think. Like, it's always that thing where I'm like, we had these discussions where like, oh, what counts as a sleeper? And we realized our sleepers are different than everyone, because like Jess and I both wrote like top 60 prospect lists this year. So, like, who could be the guy who steps up?
I said Nate Furman. Nate Furman to me is. I think we're gonna fall into this like trap of like looking at past profiles like Stephen Kwan, but if you want like a Stephen Kwan starter kit, Nate Furman, he plays like his hair is on fire and runs hard, makes contact like crazy. I would say for a hitter, Nate Furman.
I got Nate Furman written down. Come on, Jeff, give me one.
I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong first name on this because I'm having a blank. But I believe Ryan Webb is the first name. The left-hand pitcher out of Georgia. I've been very high on him.
He's 2 years ago.
He was
21.
21 class. Yeah, with all so he gets underlooked in that class, but like there were some people who thought he was the best college lefty in that group, and he's had health issues and he's going in the pitching factory. Like he got some reps last year, but he just hasn't had the opportunities. And with Leftwich's breakout, and with Bybee and Williams,
I got to see a little the other day. Williams is disgusting. People, he's like he is disgusting.
It's an unpopular opinion on the show, but like I don't blame people. Get mad at us when we talk about the Murphy stuff, and I know you can't probably comment, but it's like I have no problems not trading the big three.
Dude,
those big three are impossible. It's so hard to find pitching, and those three can all be special.
Right, and they have all three. Thank you. But how about I'm worried about our guy though with the injuries with Espinino. Like, see, I could talk to you guys. I'm worried only because I don't know if it was one of you guys, but someone else. I read it, and then someone else that I know that's a scout kind of mentioned the comparison to Tristan of going through like a year and a half, 2 year period where he just couldn't pitch to then things kind of came together. So fingers crossed. But
same with him and Cantillo. We're just kind of hoping that those two can maintain the health. But yeah, I think I look at those three, and if it works out, it's
out. But they're all not going to work out. We know that
they're not. But it's like that fastball slider combo. You're looking at elite of the elite. So But the nice thing is there's so many. Like I said, I could sit here and talk about Ryan Webb, who's like the 4th, 5th most famous guy in that pitching class. But this will be his first full year back healthy. University of Georgia has not been super successful with pro baseball players. I've talked about on the show, Derek, former guard in Cleveland, or I should say Cleveland Indian. Then Derek Lilliquist is still like top 5 in WAR from that program.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, he's still.
How's Georgia? Dang.
For whatever reason, baseball has not been their sport. But
that is crazy. Well, you know what? Duck Deacon used to tell me the same thing about Auburn in football. There's like Bo Jackson, like just like he used to say that like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've always paid attention to it since. And I mean, they have players like Takeo Spikes, but for the most part, Auburn has not put a ton of great professional football players out there. I'm going to look at Georgia baseball players.
Georgia baseball, University of Virginia baseball. I get in trouble with that one sometimes.
Oh, because of our boy? I'm going to text him right now.
The Guardians loved Virginia for a while. They just, until recently, Geyer was still 5th all time in WAR from Georgia. So it's Virginia.
We have a pretty prominent person in our farm system. I think that's from the Virginia area.
There's
I believe. I could be wrong. I won't say any names, but I believe.
Yeah, so there's,
I mean, look, that's how it all. Like, I want to get more. What can someone like me do to help get what you guys do out there?
I don't know. To me, there's no substitute for being in person. Like with your schedule, I don't know. You're never going to get to Lake County. You'd be, we'd have a seat in the press box for you if you want to come in. But it's hard. It's hard to be in person. I don't know. Like
I've always
people scout the stat lines. I don't know.
I try to put myself around as many smart people as I can. Like through the years, like I always take a kill them with kindness approach. Like I'm always listening. Like if I go to a game and I'm sitting behind home plate and there's like that 60-year-old guy who loves to chat, who's been scouting for 30 years, I let him say everything he wants to say. I'm going to pick off everything I can. I'm going to be there. Man. And I try to be, for my whole life, I'm always really excited when I see someone that like maybe I helped give a spot to when I started writing like 15 years ago, or like I just saw someone got hired by the Twins and I remember when he had like 200 followers. I'm like, you should follow this guy. It's like,
that's awesome.
That's what I go for. So I'm always trying to basically put myself around people much smarter than me and like learn things and and that's, then, I'm like, oh, so this is the important stats to follow, or these are the things to look at. And, I always, one of my big brag point on this, I remember tweeting out one year, like, oh, isn't this the round where the Guardians are going to draft Eli Morgan? And it was the 8th round and they took him. And I'm like, hey, I just, I tweeted at Bart on the Guardians Insider account. I'm like, thanks for making me look smart. He goes, it's because you pay attention, Jeff. Like, it's just, the nice thing in the moment of someone,
that's awesome.
Calling you out. So it's always nice to have those. But yeah, I think it's just being aware and the time and then listening to the people who are smart. And obviously this organization is very smart for all of it.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's why I said be in person because when I watch a lot of games on MILB TV too, but when I can be there, Jeff's right. You are sitting next to people who are way better at this, and you can't get that on TV.
It's the best part of my job. Yeah. You guys just spit out the best part of my I can't even explain to people. I mean, there's a lot of things that you see that are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The most awesome thing is me being able to talk to like Jim Leland behind, like 5 years ago, and for 3 hours before a game, for an hour, I end up at the same dinner table as Jim Leland, or and you just sit there, you don't talk, you just go and you just listen to every story. Rick Manning has that Ray Fosse, who just passed away. Definitely RIP, because man, he treated me like I was his teammate, but I obviously wasn't. And my dad and uncle told me about him, and dude, to listen to baseball the way he talked baseball and the way the pictures he had seen, and he was a huge Cleveland Indians fan, and obviously Ray Fosse's story, so it's like you try not to nerd out, but the Oakland A's would come to town, or we would go to Oakland. And Ray Fosse would open up with huge open arms, like I was his long lost grandkid. And I'm just so I think as long as you guys both keep your eyes open to that, the beauty of all this thing is to be around people because hopefully one day there'll be some snot-nosed kid that wants to hear all the stupid stories I have, as I'm carrying a cane, or you guys. I mean, I was at Lake County when Lake County first came. Fausto Carmona was on one of the first pitching staffs, I believe, and I was at the first game he pitched in Lake County because I was 22 or 23. I was trying to get into business. So there's something to the grind and grinding and finding your way, because I think this is a beautiful game, man. I love it, and I love here's a crazy thing. My 8-year-old son and my 10-year-old daughter. They both are baseball freaks. My son would rather go to a Rubber Ducks game than a Gladiators than a Guardians game. So they like stuff. No. They just go away and blame them. So do I.
No,
they do a lot. There's a lot of fun things down there, and outside the players, they do a lot of things right in minor league baseball, no doubt. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that in Lake County this year too. They got new owners, and I think. Good. If you give them a chance to, I think they'll have some of the same stuff that Akron's doing that's made them successful.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is why you should watch every Guardians game for people like Andre. You said people that make you smarter. You've made us smarter today, and hopefully 100%. Our listeners are smarter for listening to this as well.
Thanks. And you know what? You guys are the first interview I've done all year long or in the last 2 weeks. We've spoken for over an hour and 20 minutes, and you didn't bring up bankruptcy and Bally's. Good, because I have no idea what baseball games are going to be played, and I'm going to talk through them if they let me, because I appreciate those that watch our games. So thanks. There's the answer.
Yeah. We made a special point before you came on. I was like, we're not going to talk about this. People are interested. I'm like, we're not going to talk about this.
But baseball's got to take care of baseball right now.
Yeah,
this is the time to fix some things.
Nobody really knows.
Yeah.
We got you for a limited time. You've seen more than like anyone else in terms of being behind the scenes. So we were like, we got to use this time wisely.
It was smart. You guys did the right thing. But I mean, it's the elephant in the room, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I just hope that 5 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now, it's a lot more easy to watch your favorite team. And I hope it trickles down to minor league baseball too. Like there's too many cameras and too many internets out there. I'm not smart enough to figure it all out. But come on, man, we can stream every darn baseball game that's played in a single double A, triple A.
Didn't MLB say that all the minor league games will be part of MLB TV this year?
I saw that. I'm right? Fingers are crossed.
I'm hoping that'll go through. That'll be nice.
I'm just glad the show has like minor league teams because I stopped playing for a while, and then my kids started playing, and I was like, wait a minute, it's really cool to play with them. Like I did not know until this past season. And I love that they're doing it, and they're having the Negro Leagues this year. So shout out to the show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big addition for them for sure.
I found a book. I'm doing some research for some future episodes. We're digging into Cleveland's progressive history in later on this year because it's top of it
this week.
Do you know this hat?
Week. I do not know that hat.
Oh, the Akronite. Yeah,
Akron Tyrites or whatever. Yes.
Okay. Yep.
That was a former. The story I've been told that it was a former Cleveland Negro League team lost its home, and for like the last 45 to 60 days of the season, they went to Akron. These were their hats. It's a great hat that they sell at the Rubber Ducks. My family got it for me for Christmas. I love the hat. I might go buy another one. I like it so much.
No, I should know that too, as being born and raised in Akron.
I just learned, and I'm from Akron. Hey, being around people that know something. Now get one, rock one. It's worth it. I'm gonna get another one. Baseball fans are all, even Tom Hamilton. Like I told him the story, and he went and learned more about him when he saw me with the hat.
No.
They're going to play as them again this year too. They have a night this year where they'll be doing that too.
Nice.
So we'll definitely have
uniforms are pretty sweet too.
We'll have to call that out so people can go check that out on the show. Make sure that people know what's coming up.
We talked about their promo nights recently too, how funny they are. But that was
I haven't looked
one
at
of the jerseys they've got.
Yes, I've had to text that organization more than 3 times. Hey, what are these uniforms about? And it's always really cool. So I love that they do it.
Yeah, agreed. They're a lot of fun. All right, well. Watch Andre wherever he's doing baseball on TV. No matter what the network is, I will always watch. You should always watch. I enjoy it. You can, like I said before the podcast started, you can hear my A to Z when they get together and there's baseball minute there at some point. They can figure out their schedules. I've been a listener of A to Z since like I don't even know whenever you guys were like seen. Yeah, way back when.
We're going through a transition of life, but we're still not going away. Don't worry.
I do not listen to a lot of Browns content. Like I'm a very lukewarm football fan. The only football podcast I listen to is A to Z. That's the only thing I need for Browns. So there you go.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well,
and I could
Jeff,
say I just want to say you
Jeff.
can see the knowledge and the energy, which is what the most important things are sometimes. But I think with broadcast, the mix of knowledge and energy. And if this wasn't a show for why, what Andre brings and why you should be excited for the Guardians too this year.
Thanks. Hey, man, I got lucky, and you guys, and I'm lucky, and I work with a lot of people, and I work with an organization of people that let me be myself. And anything you do in life, the more you're around people that allow you and organize, like our broadcast, I feel like is really cool. It's not for everyone, but it's genuine. We do care. If you knew the nerds that Matt and I really are and how we mess with Rick and how I've got notes in my phone already for Seattle, and I've had them for like a month, like on their bullpen and different things in their bullpen. I'm a huge nerd to the game. I kind of cover it up by laughing and having fun. And I love that I'm with a broadcast team that kind of lets me be me. And I'm glad it's working out and people enjoy it. So thank you guys.
I agree. It's different than any other broadcast. All right, we have taken an hour and a half of Andre's time tonight, and didn't think we'd have all that time. But again, Andre, appreciate it. Jeff, anything left? Just go Guardians, go.
Just again, the thank you, and I'll do the trademark ending. Go Guardians, go.